Hey guys, Tightrope here, bringing you a 1v1 today. We are on Kholodny Ferma. I'm today spawning on the left. We have Across the Pacific playing as OKW, immediately going for Overwatch. And from the right we have Yin as US Forces with Airborne, Tactical Support and Urban Assault. This is a Patreon backer submitted game. Across the Pacific around 1500 and Yin in the mid 600s. Bit of a classic wire off on the Muni point. Sandbags up there. Most players go for like a straight off the fuel rather than like slightly behind, like going down this way. Maybe, looks like maybe you couldn't get a good cover position back there anyway. Used to be more of an issue when there are more cover positions behind sandbags, but they got changed. Maybe like the third to last major patch for Co. So pretty standard builds. 3 riflemen for Yin. Across the Pacific now has the option of selecting a bunch of different things. Another Volksgrenadier or maybe tech into a Jaeger light. Bit of a 2-on-1 there with the rifleman. Quite in cover here. Rifleman probably could have closed the distance and won that fight. The squad a little bit slow chasing them around the corner after this as well. Senpai's getting flanked a bit. Maybe a little bit late on retreat now after this. So they're getting out of there eventually, and the squad does come into the center, and you're not paying attention. Loses that rifleman there. Gotta be careful, there's quite a lot of negative cover in this area of the map. Sometimes you think you're in heavy cover, but all of a sudden you've been flanked and you're getting absolutely roasted. So that's good, but Across the Pacific falling behind at this stage. Okay, getting the tech truck out now, but that's a little late. Could bring in some Jaegers now as well. You want the tech truck out so you have access to the incendiary grenade as early as possible, just to open up your options. The squad here, I think, could probably sneak out a little bit further, and maybe 1 or 2 models could end up shooting at this re-echelon, contribute in the fight as well. But I lost control of the Muni up here. Quite slow coming off this sector as well. Good option here would be maybe to put this squad into the heavy cover. The squad to maybe look to go do some back capping. And you would expect the squad to try and close the distance and chase away this Volksgrenadier. And if the squad had moved straight into... Pause it here. The squad had moved straight into this cover instead of trying to come back here and then running in. This would be like a clean one in this fight. As it stands, depending on the Thompson model, which seems to be out the back, this is still actually possible to lose if you get a little bit unlucky. I think so far it's gone quite well for Across the Pacific though. Now, the Thompson model was shooting at this for quite a lot longer as it was retreating up until this point, so that's good. But if this guy had switched the focus as soon as they had hit retreat, which happens at higher ranks. Uh-oh, well, while I was watching that, I wasn't watching this up here. Senpai dead. Looks like they tried to close the distance. Maybe they just right-click capped here and then were forgotten about hit retreat and then died. And a bit of a post-mortem on the corpse position. So, not good. 1 for 1, and Senpais are very valuable. He dropped a 50 cal for Yin, which is a little strange. Unless you're carrying with Pathfinders, I don't think it makes much sense. And that's kind of fallen out of favor since that got nerfed. It's got inside the buildings in some major trouble here. Could die very soon, and I don't know, maybe using tactical map you can't kind of see that stuff. It's a very close call, and then this squad forgotten about as well. I think, yeah, maybe this is like a lack of matchup knowledge. Like a full health rifleman closing the distance on like a full health Volksgrenadier behind heavy cover. It's actually like a pretty close matchup. That's how good the riflemen are in close range compared to the Volksgrenadiers. Like, I think the light cover is pretty much like a 50-50. Heavy cover slight advantage to the Volksgrenadiers, but you know, if you got a rear echelon there providing some support, maybe they draw fire as the riflemen close the distance, can really swing the engagement. So you got to know that, okay, I'm gonna lose that fight.
We're losing a capture point.
And calibrate what you're thinking about accordingly. Like, okay, once the riflemen have closed the distance and they've been there for a few seconds, I'll hit retreat. Not, I'm going to fight this until I'm low and then retreat. And the way you decide how long you want to stay in the fight is, you know, depending on the model drops. If the squad's high in model count, low on health, you kind of like, okay, I want to at least knock out like 2 more men here or something before I retreat, because otherwise they can just go back and heal and not going to get any manpower damage done. Well, sometimes the opposite of that is good in the early game as well, before healing is really online, but it should be online at this stage. We can see Yin does not have an ambulance, but definitely could. Stuart's coming out. The reason why is he's kind of gone for like 1 extra unit here. 50 cal Pathfinders. Kind of have to go for one or the other if you wanted to stick to a more standard build. Across the Pacific got the tech up, but very late getting mechanized done. You really need these weapon upgrades to start overwhelming the US player at this phase. And they are sorely missed. You need 300 munitions, nothing to spend it on. Can finally get them going now. Sometimes it's good to try to get them before you hit retreat as well. So, you know, the upgrade's kind of cooking as you're retreating. But you don't want to do that when you're really close to base, because it'll delay your reinforcements. As soon as that mechanized pops, that should be like the #1 thing. Just getting weapon upgrades on all of your squads that can. So Stuart's on the field. Means a Raketin is needed. Should have been constructed immediately. Instead, going for another Jaeger light squad. I think in this situation I probably wouldn't have gone for another Jaeger. I probably would have gone for a Sternpire. You're going to need it eventually anyway. Once you have a tank out, you're going to need the repairs. Sternpire, I think on this map specifically, can be quite strong. There's a lot of like close quarters situations possible. And potentially, you know, if you're planning to go for like a no light vehicle strategy, you know, 1 anti-tank gun is often not really enough. You can go for a Panzerschreck as well, especially if you're just flooded with munitions like at the moment. Is complete. I'm going to allow the cap of the Northern VP. Pretty even on victory points actually, and territory as well. I'd say is close to this point, but I imagine things are going to start swinging quite far in the favor of Yin. And staying a little bit too long there after the sandbags have been destroyed. Squad still quite clumped up, but no longer has heavy cover, allowing that Stuart to get some big hits with the main gun. We've got some paratroopers on the field now for Yin. Here comes the Raketin, but a little bit late. Should already probably be on the front
The enemy
lines.
is overrunning one of our capture points.
And Jaeger Lights, you know, they're good long range, but they're good at long range cover-to-cover engagements. That's where the G43 can really shine, since it has an accuracy bonus compared to most units against units in cover. So, if possible, you want to try force those fights cover-to-cover. Closing in for Panzerfaust. A little bit tricky. Crossing the road can be risky, but pays off this time. And the Raketten's actually quite close by. This could be a decent move. The STGs here, you can see, just really bullying these riflemen. And he's going to go for a repair up here. A very risky position. But yeah, nice cut-off control. That to come to an end. And if any of these squads drop down to one mo, you kind of just have to get out. This could actually be quite nasty on the retreat, because otherwise the Pathfinder snipes can just knock you out before you can really react. This could still be a wipe. Switches over to the one model squad. Looks like you're going to get away. It's a little bit lucky. I think he should have gone with a run and gun strategy there, maybe hoping to stop while the Volkstreeters are crossing that bit of negative cover. Maximize damage, since, you know, Paris can fire M1919 on the move. Okay, here come a bunch of units. No Raketten support though, that's back at base.
Lay footing for Panzer HQ here.
Quite slow switching off this area with these two Jaegers after this. I think honestly, going to the north would typically be quite a bad move here, because I would expect the Stuart to stay in this region and then force the squad away with the Raketten so far away. Going to take a lot of damage on the Jaeger Light before the Raketten gets there to do anything. I would have been trying to shift into the middle, probably over to here, see if any units in here and try win that fight. Oof. Again, the heavy cover gets destroyed. Allows the Stuart to get a monster shot in. This can be quite an awkward position to try and get an anti-tank gun up to. Raketten definitely has an advantage here though, since it can retreat, so if you do get it into a sticky situation... Oh, that squad died on retreat. To the Paras, they got the kill this time. No dodge on the nade. Oh. And here come the Jaegers. And for a bit of revenge, got a fresh squad deployed. I could already flak base up, covering the right area. I'm staying here way too long with this. Oh, it could even get decrewed. Treaties though, there to recover it if it does. Not needed. But again, this is not somewhere I'd be staying without the Raketten support. It's just asking to bleed manpower. And you've got this area covered now. You know, the flak base covering the fuel, covering the cutoff. You don't have to worry anymore. You can leave this area almost entirely. And this means that now your Raketten can be maybe more free to operate in other areas of the map. Test, but yeah. That Jaeger Light's going down really, really bad. Straight into the 50 cal here. These things happen. You're staying here for way too long after this point, unless you're setting up some kind of move like quite quickly. This is just staying in this fight for way too long, especially that squad. Once the squad's been pinned for 10 seconds, that's when their received accuracy bonus wears off. And they start dying to the machine gun and other fire very, very quickly at that stage. The squad stayed for about 4 or 5 seconds after that. So we're pinned for about 15 seconds. So that's why they were dying so fast. So once you're pinned, you know, you got that 10-second window to sit there, but you don't want to overstay that welcome because you will start dying really fast. Really, really fast. Because those machine guns, you know, they can hit for some big damage. It's just you don't notice it too much because you're always suppressed and it's always reducing the damage they're doing. So yeah, as I was saying, I think this is the move I would be making. I'd be coming down to the bottom of the map with the Raketin as well. Nice, I think, you know, got a bit of munis to spare. Throwing the nades makes sense. Luckily the Stuart has been inactive for quite a long time. 50 count actually rotating away from the middle, which I find a little surprising. It's kind of going to get caught out in the open. If your reactions were really fast, you could have popped sprint there and got behind it. Might be able to cap this out of vision range though. So it's going to work out. Panzer IV in the build, you know, this is an okay timing for a Panzer IV. You did skip a light vehicle, so sometimes that leads to a faster P4, but
The capture point is being overrun.
this is a perfectly reasonable timing. Yen though match this almost with the Sherman. That's after building the Stuart.
A capture point is under attack.
And yeah, this is another situation where staying in this engagement doesn't really make sense. Like, trying to cap this is just too risky. Dying too fast. Yeah, that was... So yeah, I mean, quite early on in the cap, probably at about this point, you should have seen, okay, that squad's dying way too fast to actually complete this whole capture here. I think capping this takes 20 seconds, 25 seconds, so you're in here for quite a long time. I think it's 20. You know, so that's another... probably like 18 seconds you're under fire there. The squad was dying so fast, the heavy cover ended up dying. You can't really calibrate your thinking around that, but yeah, it's just what's the risk versus reward, right? Okay, I capture this point, which then I can't hold on to it because they've got a squad here. They can just come out and grab it straight away. You know, what's the reward? You know, you hold on to the VP for 20 seconds, you risk losing a squad, you lose a whole bunch of manpower if you didn't even lose the squad. It's just not a good idea. Especially, you know, at this phase of the game where both players at 400 VPs. You know, if you're under 100, maybe you're going to make plays like that, you're going to take some more risks, but this phase, it really doesn't make any sense. P4 in the field now, and okay, get a major kill there. That's handy. That can shut down some of their vision. Don't want to extend too far with this here. Yeah, without any Raketin support, without just any support at all. And Cardinal Sin here exposing the rear armor of the Panzer IV. There's a snaring unit here. Luckily, Yen very slow activating the snare and got bopped. That looked like an accuracy hit to me as well. So that was extremely lucky. That should have been a Panzer IV death. Instead, it survives. But ideally, I think you would have wanted to back out there instead of driving around. Especially through an area where you don't have vision, where there could be a snaring unit. And the OKW Panzer IV is, you know, a little bit slower, so that Sherman has the possibility of closing the gap and chasing you down.
B-47 air support now
meaning you can't really get away. That's why you need to lean on that frontal armor and winning the head-to-head matchup instead, since that you have so much armor with the skirts. But yeah, I was going to say you can't really push them without support because they still have the Stuart, right? So whatever you do, that can always swing the engagement back in the US player's favor if you don't have your own support. And I suppose you may not have known that they had a tank, but could have expected it based on being about 18 minutes into the game. Big hit on the stern pose. Luckily they didn't die though. A bit slow reacting to that Sherman coming in. Looks like he switched over to armor piercing, so the Jägerlights can hang around there for a little bit longer. Dodge on the nade though. That squad looks likely to go down. Yep.
Capture complete. Area secure. Contact! Small arms!
Okay, that's good. Moving into the heavy cover. P4 getting repaired up. I think it was possible maybe to come in with the Panzer IV when it was around 3/4 health, maybe try help your Jägerlights extract themselves. Maybe you could have jumped out of the building, tried to do some cheeky stuff around some of the sight blockers around here, trying to buy some time, maybe come in for the save. That's probably what I would have looked to do there. Let's see. Very quick pin on the negative cover. Somehow he's got an angle on you and you can't shoot back. Very annoying when this happens. Quite rare, but yeah, very annoying. They don't get a range bonus, do they? Oh, they do it. Vet 3. Okay, well that's how it happened. How did I not know that? Well, okay, let's rebuild on the Fox 3 it is. That's reasonable. Actually, I have quite a lot of fuel at this stage. Just about. I built a Jackson, a Panther instead, but we do see the Jackson in the build. Also have an airdropped anti-tank gun coming down for Yin, and he's got the planes ready to go as well.
The capture point is under attack. Swing around. Get fire on that AT.
We're missing.
Krauts have cut our supply line. Frontline units are being hung out to dry.
To get a little bit closer than this, you want the machine gun on top of the Panzer IV contributing in this fight as well, not just the main gun. You'll clear it off way faster. And nothing's shot at you yet. So, with the support of the Raketten, I feel quite safe. And that squad before it got pinned as well. Far off a snare in case anything charged in. Saw the Panzer IV there, missing all its main gun shots. So the 50 cal able to stay in the fight for such a long time. And it was fine to back away once that arrived. Okay, opting for another Panzer IV. Typically, I'm not as much of a fan of Panzer IV spam with OKW as I am with Austria, just because they occupy such a big proportion of your pop cap. They're 14 instead of 12 with the Austria one, so as you start getting to those larger army compositions, it can become a bit ineffective. But this is a, if there's any map you're going to go for medium spam on, this is one of the maps where it works. All these awkward angles. Force a lot of close range fights where mediums can thrive. A lot of negative cover as well. The units can clump up. Mediums can get some of those big hits. Potential wipes. So yeah, a bit too much focus on just trying to force a cap in the middle. You need to expect them to have units. So maybe come in with one unit probing. You already have something like coming around the corner from a different angle. They've got a machine gun there in the building or something. They're eventually getting to cover here, and that should allow the win against these riflemen. The Stuart there though. I think this is good from Yin, branching out to the far northern VP. Haven't seen much action for a long time, but it's quite wide open. And again, overstaying the engagement here. Maybe a bit hungry for the kill on that squad, but you just never know when that Stuart's going to get a good hit with its main gun. Bit unfortunate that it happened right as you're about to get the wipe and probably retreat afterwards, but you would have retreated quite a lot earlier than that anyway. You have to be worried as well about the Sherman. Anytime this thing can roll around the corner with HE on, and at least your squad's at like 3 models, pretty healthy 3 models, and die really fast. Okay, Panzer IV getting caught there, going back through the choke point. Luckily the Jackson not chasing in. Oh, but they didn't back far enough away. Jackson's coming back in, the Panzer IV switching, going from this direction across to this way. And it goes down. That could have got away. That could have, if it just drove back this way, it was home and free. Lucky that the Jackson didn't chase and then kind of squandered that by stopping here and then deciding to back this way instead of backing up this direction. But you got quite a lot of resources floating again. Don't have the mechanized down if you're planning to go for the King Tiger. If you were, you probably need to start considering that again. I think it would be quite hard to stall for a King Tiger. So quite a lot of fuel away when you factor in the mechanized truck as well. And with the squad wipes and the Panzer IV loss, army situation is quite rough. Luckily for you, Yin so far hasn't really used the P-47s at all. And yeah, hasn't been contesting the north too often. You've got a mobility advantage like Yin does at the moment. You know, he's got the Stuart, which can contest one VP on the far edge, the Sherman that can go for the other. And then the Jackson that can rotate to wherever the AKW units are, the AT gun that can kind of just camp in the middle and hold on to that. Got a pretty big edge when it comes to capping north and south. But it's going to be a Panther. You also have enough for the sector assault planes, so I think you can get something going. Look, ideally, you'll be able to bait out some P-47s, recuperate, repair your tanks, and then make your own move afterwards. Because I think if you try and go head-to-head, off-map for off-map, just because you're behind on numbers, you're going to end up coming out worse off.
A capture point is under attack.
Down to the bottom. Across the wire and the sandbag. Got very close on the flag so you can see the Panzer IV's position. Rifleman coming in. Don't get close enough for the snare though. If you took an engine damage there, that would be lights out for that tank. Oh, you sitting back here, not doing anything. So yeah, at the moment, I would say the middle is quite a low priority. You don't really have a good tool to deal with the machine gun that's camped there, apart from trying to flank it. And it's easier to flank it once you've opened up one of the other angles. So we're pushing not into the center. Okay, you just drop down your planes and he drops them down in return. You forget about this folks grenadier that dies for free. Takes quite a lot of damage. So does the Panther at the end. And now it should be a dead Panther with the rifleman there, the Jackson. And the main gun crit as well. There it goes. Jackson's staying in here. In these situations, you need to be just like moving your anti-tank gun forwards. If you're getting overwhelmed, giving it a proper order is maybe too difficult. Just move it forwards, especially on the Raketin. Probably could have connected for 3 shots on the Jackson already if you'd done that. Gonna get the Jackson kill anyway though. Just about the Sherman too. Wow, got the Sherman as well. Luckily for you, Yin didn't actually get out of there in time. So that was a real mess, but if it wasn't for the Sternpo loss, I'd say that would actually be very good for you, but probably swung it in Yin's favor. Going to be able to recover these 2 team weapons. Maybe in a better position to bounce back for that. You know, can build a tank almost immediately afterwards. But yeah, I think honestly, if you just move the Raketin forwards, you could have got the Jackson out of the fight, and then you were probably at the advantage to force away the units in the center of the map. After the Jackson had, after the Panther had died, I thought you would in a good position to hold out there for a little bit longer. But yeah, wow, just a raw sector assault activation, and it comes good. And just sitting in it. And rebuild. Stuart heading to the north to shut down the Obers.
Tank support is here. Sherman ready.
The Obers, they're an okay option. I think at the moment a lot of the problems you're having is you're constantly running into this machine gun in the middle of the map. Luckily it packed up just as you're coming in there, but I think that's where Jaeger lights can be helpful. They can provide that long range vision, spot those team weapons, and then you can maneuver around them. So I probably would have just rebuilt another Jaeger light personally to take advantage of the vision. Close to a tank now. There's a kitten. Getting the building smoked out.
Squad, get ready.
I was wondering, I was like, where's the re-echelons? Icon. Way out the back. Those are draining out really fast now though. And I think it's maybe a little bit tunnel vision continuously coming into the center where you don't have any way of dealing with this machine gun other than flanking it. No smoke, no artillery. It's just not working out at all, continuously running down the middle. probably would have gone south, I think. With this kind of push. Maybe you could even do something cheeky where, you know, you send maybe like a Jaegerlight and a Volksgrenadier down here. The Jaegerlight's capping, like kind of further out the back, Volksgrenadier hiding around this corner. You got a Raketen like set up here, expecting the tank to rotate from one of these angles. Get a Raketen shot in there, get the snare on it. Especially if you have like a tank then to follow up on that. Could be a nasty little move.
The enemy is overrunning one of our capture points.
Good result in the kill.
Taking hits.
Alright. So Panzer IV is on the field. Just about enough munitions for sector assault. So I think I'd probably be trying to... yeah, again, this is... Risky one. The Raketen's coming in. The Obers, though, maybe a bit of bait. Here comes the Panzer IV. It was complete the cap. The Sherman really wants to kill. If it was on high explosive, that Ober will be dead by now for sure. Died anyway. But trading it for a Sherman, I think that's reasonable. Jaegerlight's dead as well, though. That's not so reasonable. Be very careful on that negative cover. So quickly. Looks like he's switching over to the Jackson now. But yeah, with the loss of the Obers and the Jaegerlights, you just don't really have enough infantry to actually contest the VPs anymore. So I think you're just going to drain out here too fast to do anything. Yeah, Panzer IV backed out of the danger zone here, but didn't really switch off to do anything else. Switch sides, don't have a Sternpie for repairs anymore either. 600 manpower. So you're waiting for these planes to time out, and they do fly away. But already this squad's managed to cap the VP, so you're coming back into an area where there's nothing to accomplish anyway. So that stall outside of the circle didn't really matter, and now his rifleman could get an tank grenade off. And there's a fresh Jackson rolling up, so this could be a dead Panzer IV. The AT gun's rotated down here now. No Sternpies to come down here, save the day and repair. Do manage to knock out the Steward in the north. This Raketen should now be running down to try and save the Panzer IV, but it's running north instead. And there goes the Panzer IV. Jackson comes in and mops it up.
Is being overrun.
Figure out how many of us there are.
Enough to build another Panzer IV now. Definitely needs Sternpies as well. But yeah. But a Sternpie was maybe possible if it got down here to save the day, if it had a Panzerschreck as well. Could like try to hide around these trees and shoot shots for a while. Eventually get repaired up and with that engine crit. It's not possible with no Sternpies at all. The good news is though, Steward knocked out should allow some easier control on the edges, but 28 VPs left. Again, so much float, but never rebuilt a tank. And with this low amount of VPs, you don't have time to wait for a Panther. No chance. And in fact, I don't think you even want a Panther. Because you wouldn't be able to force away the infantry since you're so far behind on infantry anyway. You need the impact of the Panzer IV to try force away the squads to contest the VPs when you're this low. So yeah, there's a bit of float. A few squad losses quite easy to avoid, like the grenade up here. The squad just like ran up here, threw a grenade. No reaction. A few squads maybe forgotten about. Overstaying your welcome on the VPs. Trying to cap a very common theme. I think we probably saw like 5 or 6 times throughout this match. You know, especially in the early stages where the VPs don't really matter too much. Potentially, you know, risking losing a squad to complete capping is just not a good idea. You know, you take that risk at the end game because, okay, maybe there's only 5 minutes left in the match. So if I lose a squad here, but I'm still in the game, that's okay. But taking that trade-off at the start of the game, where, okay, there's still potentially another 40 minutes of this match to go, doesn't really add up. But yeah, overall, I think it's still just more practice required. I noticed when I put this in the replay analyzer, the CPM, commands per minute, for AcrossThePacific, I think it was like 16, 17, which is very low. Like I'm quite a low APM guy because I don't think they counter tactical map activations here. And I do 45. I know like a lot of top players are more in the 90 range. And I think to be effective, you really need to have about 35. So it's a lot more speed required for across the Pacific to be effectively contesting things here. Just a lot more speed required. You know, it's just, you know, the real-time nature of this game sometimes comes into effect. And with actions that low, it's just hard to keep up. But you know, a lot of that does come down to practice. Once you're familiar with actions like planting sandbags, familiar with the hotkeys, those things kind of get a lot faster. Once you're familiar and comfortable with all the hotkeys, so I think that's important. But yeah, as well, I think maybe too much focus on the central VP area when you had nothing to stop a machine gun here from just completely locking it up, and you just run in here, retreat, run in here, retreat, rinse and repeat. If you want to come in here, you maybe try like thread a squad into here. Maybe they jump into the building to see what's going on. Maybe they jump back out, get behind this heavy cover. As I was saying on this map, sometimes you want to like contest one edge, and then you're coming in from like here and coming down here as well, which can be very hard to defend if you're fighting for the middle. But just like raw running through the middle, it just it's not going to work if you're running into a machine gun every time and you don't have any indirect fire to clear it off. So yeah, I hope that was useful. And anyway, guys, wrap on that. If you like what's going to be cast by me, details it in the video description below. Otherwise, I'll catch you all for the next thrilling installment. Goodbye and good luck.